Hello there, my beautiful and lovely gamers. My name is Jonal. Today we are running over season, the new competitive season, good picks, stuff that you might wanna think about to hopefully give you guys a little bit of a good start off on your placements, and hopefully so you can rank up and hit whatever rank you desires this season. Now, as always, I'm very sorry actually. There's been like a 5, 6, 7 delay on since last video due to university, due to I'm private coaching people, private coaching. Well, I'm not private coaching team. I'm coaching team, right? And so on. So that's just been filling up my time. That's why no videos. Besides that, if you're interested in private coaching, €50 for a 2-hour session, hit me up on Discord. As always, I stream live on Twitch. Normally Monday, Wednesday, Friday if I can, and 8 p.m. Norwegian time. Now, that's really just starts. So what we normally do is that we go over like kind of each category, tanks, the DPSs, and then supports. Run over what heroes are viable, what heroes are good, and then we talk a little bit about why you might actually want to pick. Now, this is one of those seasons, and I've been this for a while. There are a lot of things are viable. It's not one of those seasons where dive is like the only meta that's viable, and so on. So what we do see on tanks is that almost all of them are viable. You can play Winston, you can play Hammond, you can play Zarya, you can play Ryan, you can play D.Va in certain team composition, in certain variations, and against certain players. However, I want to highlight two that is very, very strong. One is Roadhog. Roadhog counters almost so much. Yeah, he's always been very strong. If you ever played Roadhog in solo queue, he's so strong. He's such an individual strong carry with his hooks, which is not a hook, it's also a CC, so you can shut down a lot of challenging ultimates like Moira's Coalescence and so on. It's just incredibly powerful. Works great against Deadpool, works great against Dive. Can hook Hammond, which is one of the major things. Can also CC a Doomfist so that he can't escape easily, so on. He's also very difficult to kill and can create a lot of space. Therefore, this season, because the heroes that are getting played, is very, very, very powerful. He's also good at fucking up the Brigade shield before she can do anything, and then hopefully hooking her when she goes for one of your allies. Also, whole hog can be nice to have in certain team fights. Besides that, Hammond, if you can't play Hammond efficiently, if you don't know how to actually play him, even though you feel it mechanically, if you don't understand the game sense around Hammond, then you shouldn't play him because he's a big feeder. And he's very, very niche. You need to 100% kind of understand how to use him properly to start ranking up with him. However, almost every time that there is a contesting, so for example on when you're defending hybrid maps or capture maps or whatever, you should almost always swap to a Hammond. Someone should, and that could just as well be you. He's very good. He can stall for a long period of time, active shield, slamming, CCing. He also just deals nice damage specifically towards tanks and can help like melt some of those tanks down very, very easily. Besides that, I would recommend almost all of the other tanks in according team composition, of course. If you have a Ryan, please play Zarya and so on, right? If you have Winston, you might want to think about D.Va and so on to kind of guard him. The only one that's kind of niche right now is Orisa because of, you know, a lot of the tanks that are tank rushes, and they're gonna go very, very fast with a lot of stuns, with a lot of CC, and you a lot of time are not gonna be allowed to do that much as a stationary Orisa. Sometimes it works, but it's kind of, you know, it's like it's always been for a while now, that pokecoms can work out, but they can also just collapse very early and translate into way too much ult charge for the opposing team. Besides that, a lot of the tanks are really, really, really viable still, and you both Dive and Deathball are still incredibly strong. Heading on to damage category, I'm not going to talk about Ashe, even though I want to so bad. I'm not going to. It's just something that I've decided that before I try her myself, and hopefully before I see her in some higher tier scrims or whatever, I'm not gonna give you guys advice on her essentially. Now, DPS that are very viable, you will probably see a lot of Doomfist and Sombra players and all that kind of stuff, and Doomfist and Sombra can work out very nicely if you play them correctly, which they have been like that for a while. However, you're probably gonna meet them, and they are very, very specific picks. Like, they are very, very specialized. So if you're not very good, and this goes for everything, but especially with something like Doom for Sombra, which has very, very specific, very special playstyles, right? If you think Soldier, McCree, right, though, and Hanzo, you kind of play in the same ballpark positioning wise and so on. You don't, like, Sombra and Doomfist have very, very specific things, and even you can't even compare Sombra to a Tracer that easily because she's so much different. So watch out by picking any of those, but if you're good at them, of course. So to play around those, right, something like Hanzo, McCree, even Soldier, Pharah, and so on, and Widow are very, very, very good DPS heroes this time around, just because the range that they have, and especially someone like Hanzo, for example, the amount of burst damage is really good against dive comp. It's also really good against certain death balls, especially for someone like Hanzo that's not very stationary. And it shut down stuff like Doomfist. It can work nice against stuff like Sombra. It also works good against Brig, right? These are heroes, especially something like Hanzo and Kree specifically, and also Soldier, of course, and Widow, whatever, but especially Hanzo Kree. That has this like immense burst damage and immense CC and can flash over shields and fuck the Ryan and can poke down the Winston and can shut down a dive, and the Hanzo with his own mobility can be difficult to get to. You can mark certain areas, you can look for Rollock, you can spot Sombras, you have a lot of damage towards shields, towards tanks, towards everything. Very, very strong heroes DPS wise to pick up and start playing if you're good at them. A Soldier, of course, with his capability is a little bit more of a hit and run. He's more like I pressure compared to that whole burst that you get from some of these others. Widowmaker is, of course, the burst part, but you got to watch out a little bit, of course, with Sombra specifically. It can sometimes be very difficult even to know if you're getting jumped as a Widow. So finding escape routes and so on, and being a little bit aware, not standing still and hard scoping for an eternity, being a little bit aware if they have a Sombra, that's of course everything. And as always, guys, press tab and see the enemy team composition. The new Pharah, very, very, very strong, especially since there's a lot of people that still tries to play Sim and Torb. The new Pharah is very, very strong. Some people probably want my opinion on Sim and Torb. Sim is pretty bad, like, still, she just is. She doesn't bring the damage up with that we want. Most of her stuff can be done by someone just better. So I would not recommend playing Symmetra. And Torbjorn works nicely, but he's still a very cheese pick. So of course, if you want that cheese and so on, you can sometimes play him and you can do some great stuff with him. But you might think about, have to kind of put it into perspective if you want to play him. And especially also if you can play him long term. And if so, like, centering a team competition, of course, around the Torbjorn can be very scary. For example, if you played with Orisa, and then on second point Nabani, if you played the first point Nabani defense, second point Nabani, you had to swap up everything, then all of a sudden you reset a lot of ultimates that you might not want to reset, and you fed a lot of ultimates to the enemy team, which can be kind of bad, since also, you know, the coordination was swapping in solo queue. We know all how that's going to go. Half the team is going to swap, half the team is not, then they're going to stagger, blah, blah, blah. You lose first point. No second point for free, right? Pharah very strong, as I said. Especially with her precision, because she works against Torb. Make sure you maybe get a Mercy on you. Playing with Ana Sen, especially towards the low healers, are very difficult. And you need to think so much more about your positioning then. Tracer works fine. Stuff like Bastion, still niche. Junkrat is a little bit scared because it can die, but can work great against certain very heavy rushing team competitions. If you think that the enemy team is going to go to something very Ryan-centric, Junkrat can work great. And so on. So it's very much the same. It's just, I would recommend taking especially a look at stuff like Hanzo and Kree and so on, and Pharah, into a little bit more of that, since those are general good that most people can pick up, and it's incredibly strong. When we come to the support lineup, you might notice a couple of things that the people probably will hear me think. It's very much back to earlier meta styles, where Mercy is far more of a, okay, we're gonna run Pharah Mercy, or we're gonna play a very split team comp with a lot of people around, gets kind of spread out. Like, okay, we have Zenyatta far back left, we have the Widow top right, we had the Hanzo left side lower, we have Break and Ryan and whatever, right? Stuff like that in the front line. So as a Mercy, I can fly around a lot. I'm not gonna get CC and stunned. And instead, we have the Zenyatta far back, so we don't play with immobile. So we don't play with two immobile supports. We play with one immobile support, and then I as a Mercy can gonna fly around and be far more difficult to get. That's a good way to play her. But besides that, she's very, very niche, and I would almost only recommend her for specific team composition or specific maps, or if you're running a Pharah. Besides that, Ana is a god. Again, she's still very, very strong. It's still something that if you have the accuracy, I highly recommend playing Ana. Break, of course, and of course also using Break to shut down Hammer, to stop Doomfisters, to shut down Traces and Sombras and all that kind of goodies. Of course, something that you should be looking at. Moira can also be very good, again, just because if you're standing up for a team that is very fun at attacking the backline, having a Moira, and for example Moira Ana is can be quite difficult to kill. The Brigitte can also peel for the Ana, and then the Moira herself can be very difficult to actually get to just because of the fade and her lifesteal and so on. Playing something like that is of course very good, because again, playing Ana Zenyatta, which a lot of people do, gives you this very mobile backline that can actually be focused far more, and it can be very, very resource heavy for your team to try to keep alive. Lucio works in certain speed composition where you want to rush and so on, and can definitely work. But I would actually recommend far more focusing on like Ana, Break, and Zenyatta, and maybe even a Moira, and then Lucio and Mercy whenever that fits. Even almost Lucio, Mercy, and Moira kind of when it starts fitting more for that. So that's my really take on this. You can place almost anything this season. This meta is practically almost free for all. You can just go goats, you can go heavy tank, you can go Ryan, sorry, break with 2 DPSs and whatever, and only 1 healer. You can go dive, you can go diva ham and dive. You can do all kinds of stuff. So there isn't too much. It's very open compared to other times, which can be very, very fun. So yeah, that's at least my tips for this season after playing my placements on some of my accounts, so on, and having some fun with that season. As always, go down to the comment section and tell everyone else what you think, how you're doing, and I would actually like to hear how you guys are doing during the placements. I placed very horrible on one of my accounts, so I would very like to hear what that goes with you guys. But besides that, my name has been Jonal. Please guys, take care of yourself because I love you guys very, very much, and stay positive if you can. My name has been Jonal. Please keep the enemy in your crosshair.
I can feel it.